So what a SteveBlank said is that startups are temporary organizations searching for repeatable and scalable business model. Hello everyone, I'm Amir, and on the first episode of Career Podcast, I'm going to talk about what is a startup. All right, let's go. So on the first episode, I'm going to talk about what's a startup, and Career Podcast is about everything and every topic that I learn and I'm learning in my career and professional path. So everything I learn, I'm going to explain it here. And the thing is, I'm not expert in any of these. So any misunderstanding that can happen, I don't have any expertise. The second thing I want to say before we begin is that English is my second language and I'm not a native speaker, which leads me to the third thing which is these podcasts are going to be no edits. I'm not going to edit them at all, and there's going to be some bloopers, and that's the way I think they should be. It feels more natural and so on. So any bloopers, sorry guys. Let's just start. What's a startup? And if you're on YouTube, you can actually see the agenda and go to the parts that you want to watch. What's a startup? First, let's clear on our minds. Startup is on business field and making a company in these kind of categories. Startups are not products. A startup is not a cloth. A startup is not an event or anything. Startups are types of companies. Startup is a type of company. Like, I have a startup company. So, what is a business? What is a company? How does it work? When people are trying to start a business, usually a bunch of people gather around and put some money into the business and grow and make a business to grow, and then they find their customers and they serve them well and get revenue and so on. So we said that the startups are kind of businesses, but how are they different? By their business model. Now, what's a business model? If I give you a business model of a business, you can actually tell how that business functions. So a business model is everything you need to know about a business. It has different sections, and if you actually document it, you end up with something called business plan. In business plan, we have different parts: revenue streams, costs, and the way and the channels that you reach your customers. What are your customers? What are your key products and so on. So startups are different by the nature of their business model. But how? Their business model is repeatable and scalable, which makes it grow really fast. So, to sum it up, startups are temporary organizations designed to search for a repeatable and a scalable business model. That's actually what SteveBlank said, a well-known guy in the topics of startups, and he actually has a book called Startup Owner's Manual. So what SteveBlank said is that startups are temporary organizations searching for repeatable and scalable business model. But how? How can a startup grow really fast? What is it about being repeatable and scalable? What are those? Let's think about it. For a business to grow really fast, what do you need? First, we need an idea that a lot of people want, and then we need to serve all of those people. For a startup to do these things, it needs to be repeatable and scalable. Let's actually have an example here. Let's imagine that I'm an online bookstore that I used to have a store in my neighborhood, and I just decided to open an online website and sell books throughout my website. Then there's another business that I have a platform that people come and exchange their books. So I don't sell any books. I don't have any books. I just have a platform. This one, the one that is just an online bookstore, and the other one is a platform. The online bookstore is not a startup, but the platform is. But why? You see, the online bookstore here needs to spend in order to grow. It's not repeatable, it's not scalable. For a bookstore to grow bigger, its founders, those who started it, need to go to other markets, to other places, and starts another marketplace there. They need to produce and make more books in order to sell more and have more profit. So it's not repeatable and it's not exponential growth, right? On the other hand, our startup book platform, for that, in order to grow, it doesn't need to go and like spend money that much, right? In order to grow bigger, the only thing that the founders need to do in order to grow bigger, let's imagine they want to enter a new market, like they're in neighborhood A, they want to go to neighborhood B. The only thing that they should do is to be able to back up and support that kind of market with having just a small office there with a bunch of employees. They don't need to produce more books. They don't need to do anything, right? So they have an idea that a lot of people want, a good number of people, and they can serve all of those people with being repeatable and scalable. And that's how startups grow really bigger. Another definition that Paul Graham, the founder, one of the founders of Y Combinator in Silicon Valley, gave is startups are growth. But before that, what's Y Combinator? Y Combinator is an accelerator. What are accelerators? So I told you that startups, like any other business, need money at the beginning in order to grow. But not like other businesses, startups are in need of really big money in the beginning. So they get investors. Accelerators are like organizations or groups that help startups, help their founders who probably didn't have any expertise or experience in making a startup. They help them to grow faster and without more risk. They lower the risks and they help startups to grow. They accelerate the process. But how? So, and it's better if you didn't have any experience in making a startup. It's better to attend one of these acceleration programs. So when a startups enter accelerators first validate the teams. Are you good? Are you worthy enough? Then they accept them. Then they have some people, like older entrepreneurs, more experts, called mentors. They teach them, they show them the mistakes and guide them through the path of success. And they actually, if the idea was good and they end up having actually a little product called MVP, which is a small version of the product, they actually have investors invest in them, and then they grow, and probably most of them have they take shares and they take some part of the company, in the exchange of investing and these things. So accelerators are these. Y Combinator is one of the biggest and oldest Accelerators in Silicon Valley. Paul Graham is one of the founders. Paul Graham said, startup equals growth. So everything that you're doing in a startup is about to grow, is about growth. And we said, in order to grow really fast, you need some idea that a lot of people want, and to serve all of those people. Startup founders find a problem before most of the people and have the expertise and confidence and connections and teams to actually work on the problem or the idea and be the first one who reaches the idea. When I was studying these kind of topics, there was a question for me that why all of these startups are online. So I had to go back and read about its history. Startups history goes back into 70s in US when Silicon Valley was coined and Silicon Valley was getting started in San Francisco, the age of computers, and then 90s when it was a dot-com boom, and in 90s and after that like 2000s, it was a dot-com boom. So people now have more access to the internet. You can serve more people. Now, like, the definition of a startup was common because technology in the startups have really linked kind of things together. Technology enables startups, give them solvability to actually find a solution for problems. Technology enables them to find solutions. And then the startups use the technology, and with using the technology, they help the technology to grow. So they work with each other. Before that, before the internet, you couldn't probably grow that fast because you couldn't reach all of those people, and you couldn't reach them that fast with low cost. It wasn't repeatable and scalable. I'm going to talk about a little how to start a startup. The model I found has 3 main parts, which is forming, validation, and growth. And in each section, we have different parts. When you're making a startup, you need ideating, then concepting, then committing, then validating, then scaling, then establishing. So what happens? I have an idea, that's ideating phase. I found out that this idea has probably good potential to grow really fast, to grow really big. Then I concept it. I form the idea as a concept of, is it going to be a site? Is it going to be an app? What is it going to be? And then if I have some founders together, I make them commit to my concept. Probably there's a lot of paperwork here, in the committing phase. And then I have validating. I validate my idea. Is it really good? Is my idea worthy enough? Is it the market good enough? Worthy to spend money in it, get investors, and actually spend my time and energy on it. Then I have a scaling, which is now it's time for a startup to grow. I need money, I get investors, and I scale. Then I establish a company, and usually after that phase, startup is no longer a startup. It's not vague anymore. You have companies working, and you're still called a startup, but you've done it. Thanks. That was it for this episode. And I repeat it again, I don't have any expertise in any of these. So if I was mistaken in any part, please tell me in the comments. I can't believe I did it. I was waiting a year to make this podcast. Yeah, I will tell these things and the stories on other social media. So if you found it cool, if you found it useful, be sure to like, subscribe, follow, or send it to those people you think it's useful for them. I need to mention some people. Cassette podcast by Manuel Han. 10 a.m. podcast. These are Persian podcasts. Naser, Ghanemzadeh, and startups.com. And other resources, links below and in the description. See you next week with another topic. Thanks, guys, for watching, listening, and paying attention to my words. I'm Amir, and this was Career Podcast. See you.